Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped have the gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Stafford under pressure, and a tuck it, and he's in! Darrell Henderson, he's off and running! As Woods, touchdown! Cooper Kupp just went up and took it away.
Van Jefferson for the touchdown.
Aaron Donald smothers him. Jalen Ramsey with the pop-up. Sacked by Leonard Floyd, having a day again.
Darius Williams with a diving hit. Jordan Fuller comes up with his second interception of the night.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, we are coming to you before our wild card playoff matchup against the Arizona Cardinals in Los Angeles this Monday, January 17th. And guys, it doesn't get any more intense than this. We are playing a division rival in a playoff game at home. And that's going to be exciting, but it is also a little nerve-wracking, Jake, because our first game against the Cardinals this season, we lost 37-20 at home in Los Angeles, but then we played them again at the end of the season, and we beat them 30-23 in Arizona. Jake, Arizona has been one of the better teams in the NFC this season. So have the Rams. They obviously have a very talented roster, but so do the Rams. It's going to be a good matchup, and I'm going to let you give your brief synopsis on this matchup, as well as give some of the injuries that you and I just got done discussing. And then, Jake, can you also say, in your mind, without a doubt, number one, what the Rams need to do to come out strong against the Arizona Cardinals at home?
Yeah, so, Alexis, we're looking at a team right now. They've lost 4 of the last 5. The Rams have won 5 of the last 6. Starting their losing streak, by the way, with the 5-game stretch, which they lost 4 out of the last 5. Arizona did lose to the Rams to kick that off, 30-23 on the road. This is one of the at home. This is one of the best road teams in football, by the way, the Arizona Cardinals are. So it's not necessarily something I'm just, completely willing to say, they have no chance and all that. Like, some fans are doing. I think this is going to be a tough game. I could see the Rams coming out and absolutely eviscerating them if they get off to the start they did against San Francisco. I think the key is the Rams' offensive line, the interior. We saw, during the 49ers game, we saw the 49ers attack the interior, not allowed Stafford to step up in the pocket, not allow Sony Michel to run up the gut, or Cam Akers. If the Rams can, stop that, and they can get some good play out of whether it be Brian Allen or Coleman Shelton, then I think that they're going to have a really good chance to win this game. Arizona is 0-3 when they give up at least 100 yards on the ground. And furthermore, this is one of the worst run defenses in football. And when you look at their offense, Arizona simply just isn't generating the type of big plays that you would like to see if you are an Arizona Cardinals fan over the last 3 weeks. They're bottom in the league and near the bottom in the league, around the same level as the Steelers, the Giants, and the Jets in yards per completion. They're just simply not going, they're not allowing guys to go vertical over the top. And I think a lot of that is due to the lack of DeAndre Hopkins, who is not going to play in this game. So I do think that opens up an opportunity for the Rams. I think the Rams are going to have to capitalize on that, but make no mistake, they have a big injury in Jordan Fuller. We'll see if they are able to overcome that.
Yes, and that is the thing I wanted to bring up, because Jordan Fuller, unfortunately, is out for the rest of the playoffs with an injury. Very sad. He has been substantially, in his second season, he has been substantial to this defense. But, Jake, the Rams made the move to bring safety Eric Weddle out of retirement and back for the playoffs. As most of you probably remember, Weddle was a safety for a very long time for the Baltimore Ravens, but spent his last few seasons in LA with the Rams. Jake, my opinion about this move is I think I can understand why the Rams did it. They brought back a safety with playoff experience at a position where they're thin at now because of Jordan Fuller's injury. However, Eric Weddle has been retired for a couple years now, and I'm not sure that this makes any substantial difference in gameplay. I don't think Eric Weddle is going to come in and just make amazing plays and lead this Rams defense, anything like that. I think this is more about the experience, maybe some play calling. But again, I see people mentioning that, but he has not been in this defense for a long time. So I don't know how quickly he can get up to speed on what this defense is doing. So Jake, do you agree with that this is more of a symbolic signing, and helping with, locker room and experience in the playoffs? Or do you think Eric Weddle is going to come in and make a lot of big plays?
Well, Alexis, I think you definitely have to temper your expectations when it comes to Eric Weddle, not you, but just in general. Obviously, I think you and I both know when we interviewed Terrell Burgess for the first time, it was really cool to talk with him about the fact that, Weddle was a mentor of his. They both went to Utah. But when you look at this, Terrell Burgess is going to have a chance to start. Nick Scott was a big issue in last game. Terrell Burgess made the last play on defense for the Rams, holding them to a field goal in overtime. Unfortunately, was the game winner. It ended up being. But Nick Scott missed a bunch of tackles in that game, so he's going to have to play a lot better. Eric Weddle comes in here. The fact of the matter is this: they're not going to have Taylor Rapp in all likelihood. Any indication of that? Well, they just signed Eric Weddle to the practice squad. They just signed former Ram, I don't know if you caught wind of this, Blake Countess from the Rams. He actually was on the Super Bowl appearing team in 2018. They both have familiarity with the secondary coach and passing game coordinator, Ajiro Evero. So that is the connection there. And then they also signed Sherrod Niesman, who actually played a little bit with the Jets this year, had an interception back in the Bills game in November. So they do have, some guys here that add depth, but this is an emergency situation, make no mistake about it. And so with Weddle not having really any grasp of this defense, I can't expect him to go out there and even start. I mean, you're looking at, maybe in a sub package format, maybe on special teams, probably on special teams. They probably got these guys so they can play on special teams to keep the health of both Terrell Burgess and Nick Scott, because when you are down to literally only 3 safeties on the roster, and one of which is a converted safety to linebacker in Jake Gervais, you have to go out and you have to make these moves. But this late in the year, a lot of those guys are off limits. Those practice squads for teams like the Lions and the Giants, you can't do that. However, they've already taken some of your guys mid-season when you tried to revert J.R. Reed onto the practice squad. The Giants picked him up, added in the active roster. Juju Hughes, the most notable one, the most recent one last week. The Lions added him to their active roster, and it's going to be a futures deal, so he's going to revert onto the roster when all of a sudden the roster expands to 90 during the off season. And so this is the problem the Rams ran into and why they needed to go out and make these moves that they did. Do I expect Weddle, who is 3 years off retirement, to come back and be able to play? Not entirely, honestly. I think it's going to take some time with him, but if he does step in, he does, he picks up this defense quickly and he's able to make a few plays, maybe playing, in the box or something like that. He's a very good tackler. He led the NFL the first 8 games of his Rams career in 2019. He led the NFL in tackles for safeties. It was down the stretch where he started to kind of deteriorate a little bit, kind of wear down, which wasn't a huge deal because Rapp eventually took over as the starter. But the thing is, now you're dealing with a guy. Yes, he's 3 years off 3 years off retirement. But Alexis, how I'm looking at this is if he can play and add any sort of value, he only needs to play 4 games for them to win a Super Bowl. So that's a big thing there. They probably don't need him for all those games. It's really just this game. If they can advance to the divisional round, they'll have Taylor Rapp back. They'll have more depth. But right now, this is emergency territory. And the Rams needed to make a move like this because there's just not many other things they could have done.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that this move was maybe more symbolic in nature, more about things off the field than on the field for sure. As you mentioned, he's been out of this defense for a while. But Jake, talking about our defense as a whole, going against the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray is a guy who basically tore through our defense the first time we matched up. I mean, quite frankly, absolutely embarrassed us. The second time we were able to get the best of him, Jake, you mentioned to me off there, and I believe earlier in the episode, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out for this game. That is Kyler Murray's biggest weapon. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the National Football League. So from a competitive advantage, that's obviously very good for the Rams. From a personal perspective, you never like to see guys hurt, of course. But if you're a Rams fan, you have to breathe a little bit easier knowing that DeAndre Hopkins is not going to be in the game. You look at other weapons that Kyler Murray has, Moore, who I think is questionable, Zach Ertz, James Conner in the run game, Christian Kirk. Not a bad offense. And obviously Kyler Murray in himself, I think, is their biggest weapon because he's, very mobile and he can, like we saw in our first matchup, he really gave us a hard time. So Jake, in my opinion, I think if the Rams can isolate Kyler Murray in a way that they did the second time we matched up, and let me point out when we were very injured. If people don't remember that game, Jalen Ramsey was out. I think most of our secondary was out. Of course, it's now slipping my mind, but that was a game that no one expected the Rams to win in Phoenix because we were playing with a ton of guys on the COVID list. And we came out and we forced Kyler Murray to get uncomfortable. So I think we need to do that again, Jake, in my opinion. If we can stop Kyler Murray, I think we can stop this Arizona Cardinals offense because I don't know that their run game is going to be strong enough against our defense to do anything substantial. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the Jalen Ramsey thing because they did beat Arizona on Monday Night Football on the road without Jalen Ramsey, starting Kareem Orr, who we all liked in, training camp. And if you watched him in preseason, he played very well. But he hadn't played since preseason, and he was thrown in the fire to go 1v1 against DeAndre Hopkins. And he didn't do the best, but I don't know what you would expect from, somebody like that just being thrown in the fire. But the Rams held DeAndre Hopkins on 13 targets to only 5 catches for 54 yards in that game. And it did open up the opportunities for James Conner, 9 catches, 94 yards. They kept using him as a security blanket. Christian Kirk had 3 catches for 86 that last game. And AJ Green had 7 catches for 102. There were some big plays. The 47-yard catch for Kirk, 36-yard catch for Green. So I look at this as, it does suck that they're, kind of down in the bottom of the barrel when it comes to safety. But, it's time for a guy like Terrell Burgess to step up. We've talked about why are they not playing Terrell Burgess enough? Well, now they're going to play him. In all likelihood, he's starting. This is a huge opportunity for him. Nick Scott has to pick up the pace. Otherwise, he's in jeopardy of getting, benched in favor of a guy that retired 3 years ago. What it comes down to is this, though, with, Hopkins not in there, then AJ Green getting over 100 yards is less likely because AJ Green was able to have 7 catches for 102 yards because of the attention Hopkins took off of others, which includes Kirk. So now, without Hopkins, it's a different type of game. And so, really what I think is that the Rams, they need to get after Kyler Murray like they did. They need to be able to stop the run, and they need to be able to hold their own, keep everything in front of them. Don't allow those big plays. And then at the end of the day, with the way the offense looked at points during the game last week, if they can translate that first half offense, I don't see how they lose this game. But there's a lot that needs to happen. And this is a division rivalry. It's not going to be easy, but there is something to point out that Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are now playing in their first ever playoff game.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. The playoffs are a whole different animal in a whole lot of different ways, but we see it all the time. You see teams that were amazing all season. They go right in the playoffs and they lose right away. You see teams that struggle to make the playoffs and then they somehow magically manage to put together a playoff run. So again, it's 0-0 right now. We talk about what happened in the regular season. We talk about, what we did to the Cardinals, what the Cardinals did to us. But I think the healthiest way to look at it is this is a clean slate. It's the playoffs. Kyler Murray has not been in the playoffs before. We'll see what happens. And unfortunately, this has to lead me into the Matthew Stafford conversation, which is the least favorite thing about this episode for me, but we have to talk about it because a lot of Rams fans are worried about it. A lot of Rams fans bring it up. Matthew Stafford historically is not good in the playoffs. We have seen him struggle under pressure in certain games this season. There are times where he thrives under pressure, specifically in the fourth quarter. The problem with that, in my opinion, is it's going to be too little too late if we let the game get away from us for the fourth quarter. A fourth quarter comeback is not going to matter if you're down 2 to 3 touchdowns. So, Jake, I think my concern with Matthew Stafford is he cannot, at any point in the game, but especially early on, make those bad decisions, make those bad throws that lead to interceptions, specifically pick sixes, because this is one game and you're out if you lose. So everything is on the line here. Again, he's not a great quarterback in the playoffs historically. I don't know that necessarily matters. That's just looking at it maybe from an analytical standpoint, because this is just one game. Anything can happen. He hasn't been to the playoffs that much. I wouldn't say he's like a Tony Romo, which I feel bad saying because I do like Tony Romo. But Jake, do you think that there's a way that the Rams can minimize the chances of Matthew Stafford throwing interceptions, getting sacked, making bad plays early on in the game? I mean, the offensive line, of course, is what comes to mind for me in terms of sacks and, him feeling under pressure, feeling like he has to get the ball out and then making a bad throw. But Jake, is this something to be concerned about, or should we not worry about it because it's one game?
Prize Picks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join Prize Picks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with Prize Picks.
Girls, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of finding a bush when I go down in my man's chimney. Dear Santa, all I want this holiday season is for my man to have smooth jingle balls. Thankfully, Manscaped answered with the Performance Package 4.0, so I don't have to find Santa's beard in my man's pants again. Ladies, this holiday season, get your man products that will leave him smelling fresh with their all-new ultra-premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give the man in your life the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
I mean, Matthew Stafford, we all know, he's thrown, 8 picks in the last 4 games. That's obvious. But he's also been in a little bit of a predicament. I do think that the Rams have never, quite totally adjusted to not having Robert Woods. But I do think now you're in the playoffs. Odell has to be somewhat, at this point, pretty comfortable in this offense. Van Jefferson has caught 2 touchdowns, has averaged 18 yards per reception against the Cardinals this year. He is going to be an X factor in this one. Tyler Higbee, when he plays, I feel like the offense is better. And it's not even like I feel like. It's obvious the offense is better when he plays. The Rams will be without leading tackler Jordan Fuller, and of course that's going to hurt. But I do think that as long as the Rams defense can keep this thing, manageable, Matthew Stafford doesn't have to be used as just the passing guy, because I think they're going to be able to run the football this week. They weren't able last week. And so when you stop the run like that, normally, and the irony is that, Sean McVay probably wins the game if he doesn't try to run the ball as much as he did. But the fact that he made those adjustments since the Packers game, he clearly wants to run the football. He wants to have a balanced, offense. And so I think, to help Matthew Stafford out, first off, you need to make sure that, he's not, stepping up into pressure like we did, we saw last week. He hasn't been the whole year. He's one of the least pressured quarterbacks on the season. But when he's pressured, it's not very good. And last week we saw that. Arizona is going to try to do that. We'll see what he can do. But if you keep Matthew Stafford in the pocket, even if he's getting edge pressure, he can, slide his way out of it. The interior pressures when it becomes a problem. So if the run game's there, you're getting edge pressure, not necessarily interior pressure on Stafford, then he has the ability to step up, make plays, utilize play action. Last week with the toe injury, that did affect him to the point where Sean McVay wasn't calling play action as much, wasn't calling the bootleg throws that he wanted to call. And so now I would imagine that things are kind of up in the air as opposed to, what they can do. They can really do whatever, because you always have to look at a playoff game as this is your last game of the year until otherwise, until further notice. So, you don't know. I mean, this could be their last game of the year. And so I think everything is on the table. And I think having Akers and Sony Michel back, or Akers back, and Sony Michel hopefully playing at the level he was before last week, then I think, Stafford can limit those turnovers. But he's made some incredible throws this year. It's just a matter of, he is a gunslinger, and sometimes you have to live with that. So we'll see what, approach McVay takes. But I wouldn't be, absolutely surprised if Stafford doesn't throw a pick in this game, because, he is one of those quarterbacks that can, throw 4 touchdowns without throwing an interception. He's done that at times this season. And, he is one of the best quarterbacks this year, statistically speaking. So this is a big game for him, in my opinion. This is maybe the game of his career, probably is the game of his career. So, until we move on, if we do, to the divisional round. So I expect him to step up and play a huge role in a Rams win against the Cardinals.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. And I want to apologize to everyone. I'm not talking much. I have like a sinus thing going on, and it hurts to speak. But yeah, I agree. You say the game of his career. I agree with that, because, the Rams gave up a lot for him. And if we can't even win a playoff game, that's going to be super concerning, because we basically mortgaged our future, not only with him, but, making some other trades for some players that puts us in a bit of a hole in terms of the draft in the upcoming years. But Jake, final thoughts going into this game. Is, I don't care about what happened the first time we played the Cardinals. I don't care about what happened the second time we played the Cardinals. I care about what we're going to do when we play on Monday night. Obviously, it's good to use our first 2 matchups as kind of a judge of what we should and shouldn't do. I think, we're 1-1. And listen, it's crazy because the Cardinals massacred us with a fully healthy team. And then when we were down really bad players, we ended up beating them. So kind of crazy. I think anything can happen. The Cardinals are going to be missing some guys, as we know. That certainly is to our advantage. I believe that, we are going to be, obviously the injury to Fuller doesn't help, but we're going to be relatively healthy. And I expect a good game, Jake. And it feels a little weird to do stat and score predictions for a playoff game, but should we just do it anyway, just for funsies?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this right now. Okay, the prop right now for Van Jefferson is 38.5 yards. I'm going to call that my lock of the week. Van Jefferson will at least get 39 yards in this game. So for those of you who bet out there, and, obviously Prize Picks sponsors us, you can go on Prize Picks whenever that line comes out. Actually, I'm going to check right now, Alexis, real quick. If you want to start talking, I'm going to check if it's on there. But yes, I'm going to go with that.
I will continue doing the thing causing me pain and talk. Anyway.
Oh my God, it's 35.5 on Prize Picks. You are out of your mind if you don't think Van Jefferson's going over 35.5 yards. He is going to be a big factor in this game against his father. This is his first, playoff game against his father. The last 2 games, he's had touchdowns against the Cardinals. He's gone over 100 yards. He's had 8 catches. He's utilized, and we saw last week he really wasn't. So, Matthew Stafford doesn't go into these, this rhythm without certain guys. What you'll notice is if OBJ had 80 yards last week and Van had 7, Van might have 80 the next week and OBJ might have 7. And I expect this to be a pretty balanced out as far as how much he is, spreading the ball across the field. I think it'll be balanced, but Van is going over 35.5 yards on Prize Picks.
Is that your stat prediction for the game?
That's one of my locks. That's one of my locks. I'm going to say that the Rams. I'm going to say that the Rams get 3+ sacks on Kyler. That's been like the number. Basically, they continue to do that. I'll say this right now, Alexis. Von Miller is going to explode the same way Ndamukong Suh exploded in the 2018-2019 playoffs.
I agree with that. That's one of my stat predictions.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have that, and then I'm going to have the Rams going over 3 touchdowns. Right now, on, I believe it's Caesars, they have the Rams. It's 2.5, or rather Matt Gay. The prop is 2.5 over under for extra points. I'm going to say he goes over that, but I think they score 3+ touchdowns in this one. And that's it.
Sorry, I was having a coughing attack. I muted myself.
Oh.
Okay. I think I'm surviving. Okay. My stat predictions for the game are, I'll start with Von Miller. As you pointed out, I think Von Miller is going to have 2 sacks this game. Ooh. I think he is going to explode for us in the playoffs as well. I think the experience is really going to help, and I think he's saving his best for the end of the season. I think that he's going to be the force that the Rams were hoping for. She says, dying when we traded for him. So that's my prediction for Von Miller. I think Cam Akers is going to get a touchdown this game. I think that, listen, he did not come back for the playoffs to not be used. I think they're going to use him. Maybe not as much as they normally would, but I do think he's going to get significantly more reps than most people think. And I think that he's going to get a touchdown and play well. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have a touchdown. It's been a while. I don't know if he's ever had a touchdown in the NFL playoffs, actually, now that I think about it. He might have with the Giants, but I think Odell Beckham is going to have a touchdown. I think Van Jefferson is going to have a touchdown. And I think the offense is going to play better than they have in the last few games. And Jake, I'll just start with my score prediction now, in case my voice goes out or I start having a conniption or something. But I have the Rams defeating the Arizona Cardinals in the wild card game 27-21. I think it's going to be a very good game. I don't think there's going to be any point in the game where someone is absolutely blowing the other team out. I just don't. I think it's the playoffs. I think these are 2 very good teams. I know that Arizona is down on the offense a little bit, but I don't know how much that's going to matter. But I do suspect that the Rams, as the game goes on, are going to start to pull away from the Arizona Cardinals. I know that might sound unusual because that's the time of the game the past few weeks that the Rams have started to kind of lose their way. But I have faith. I think that Matthew Stafford is going to be really zoned in. Like we said, game of his life. I don't think there's much room for error. And I think that the Rams are going to win 27-21. Jake, what's your score prediction?
I got 31-24. I could see the Rams winning by more than 10 if they, showed us anything of what they're capable of, in the first half last week. But I'm going to go more safe here. I think they win by a touchdown. I know that the spread is, 4. The Cardinals are 4-point underdogs. That's typically a good sign. So, I'm going to go with the Rams here, 7 points. I think that Matthew Stafford and company gets it done, despite the fact it's going to be on a Monday. I can't stand that. We'll see, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday game the following week after. But I do have the Rams winning this game. Oh, by the way, to add on to what you were saying earlier about OBJ, I did look up his postseason stats. They're not very good. So he had 4 catches on 11 targets for 28 yards back when he was 24 years old in the 2017 season against Green Bay when they lost 38-13 following the, what can I say? The very infamous boat, picture, if you remember that. So he did not play in the 2020 playoffs. If you remember, he was on injured reserve. So he did not play against the Steelers or Kansas City with the Browns. So this is his second playoff game, and he's definitely going to be looking to do better than a 4-catch, 28-yard performance.
Well, let's certainly hope so. I think he will as well, and I think that I think this is a redemption game, maybe low key for him, or some character stuff on the line, or however you want to say it. I think that he's going to silence a lot of the haters, as the kids say. But Jake, I think that's going to do it for us. And, we will be back after the playoff game with a breakdown of the game. Hopefully we're in high spirits, and hopefully that won't be the last episode of the Rams season for us. I'm hopeful. I'm excited. I hate that we have to wait till Monday, like you said, but we do have 3 straight days of playoff football this weekend, guys. Very exciting. I will probably not leave my couch, and I'm okay with that. So as always, guys, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft, and you can follow Jake at Ellenbogen. So guys, like I said, we will be back after the playoff game, but until then, stay safe, take care, and go Rams. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Prize Picks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join Prize Picks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with Prize Picks.